All right, so we're gonna move into now attacking the K guard when our partner's standing, and we're gonna actually cover the backside 50-50 movement and the components of actually capturing the knee and attacking the heel hook and whatnot. So in the previous section, we just went over the basic principles of our knee positioning, went over some common counters he's gonna do, but we're gonna actually get into the backside 50-50 and the K guard movements where we're actually trying to get with this position. So the first thing we're gonna cover, I feel a lot of students struggle with this, is actually establishing your underhook on the leg. So usually, again, when the person's standing, we're establishing our K guard from like an outside De La Riva position. And I don't even really need the De La Riva hook in. I just need to be on my outside hip, and he's stepping to my outside hip. So this would be like the reverse De La Riva side. I'm not gonna be doing K guard from here. I'd be doing it on the opposite hip, or I'm on my outside hip. So I need to get an underhook on his leg. That's gonna allow me to start to maneuver my legs into that position. So I feel a lot of people struggle with this. Most people are too much on their hip, and their De La Riva leg, we'll call it, is very, very low. So when they try to get the scoop, it's very, very hard for them, and they only end up getting wrist deep, and then they try this like big weaving motion to get into the legs, and the person can disconnect very easily or smash them. So when we go to do this, I want to get the back of my hamstring right over Zane's knee, and I don't want to be too much on top of his foot. I kind of want to create a gap. See where my left hand is right now? That's gonna be where my hand comes to the inside, just like this. So I'm using my outside leg either on his hip, or I can use a hook, and I'm just gonna cover his kneecap with my hamstring. And I'm not worried about the De La Riva hook, because the De La Riva hook is not gonna be in when we do this movement. Now I reach up with my other hand and I grab the back of his knee. So I have my hamstring covering his kneecap. I have my right hand on the back of his knee. So I'm extending my hamstring as I pull with my hand. And that's going to kind of create a connection around his knee. So when he goes to potentially run away or start to disconnect from me, I have a connection with him. Now I just move my hips a little bit to the side so I have a big space so I can go elbow deep with this hand right here. So if initially we're in a De La Riva, I'm covering the back of his knee. This other foot on the hip, or my hook, is helping my hips move side to side. I grab the back of the knee, so I have this connection right here with the back of my hamstring in his kneecap and my right hand on the back of his knee. So when Zane goes to turn his knee or move, it's going to be difficult, and I'm actively focusing on not letting him turn his knee to his left. If he turns his knee out, other way, that almost makes the scoop easier. He's making more space for me. So sometimes guys will try to turn their knee this way and start to disconnect and then run away. Just run away. Yeah. So when he's doing this hand, I'm actively using the heel of my hand on the inside of his knee. So when he goes to turn that way, I'm establishing a connection. And if you see, my elbow is kind of wedged inside my own hip. So I'm creating some structure here. Now I can get my scoop, and I'm grabbing initially like close to my knee, and then we would move into our K guard position. Just rotate this way. So here, my outside De La Riva position, I come here, I'm creating this connection. So I'm actively pressing with my hamstring. He goes to try to rotate out, I get this scoop. I'm creating that space. Versus if this leg was really low, I'm like turning on my side, I can't really get this very deep, or he might stuff this down. Then it becomes kind of a not very controlling position. So keeping my left leg high. So when he goes to stuff my leg, it's not that easy for him. I establish my scoop. I can grab my own shin, and now we're in our K guard position, and we can go into all our options from there. All right, so this initial movement I think is really important. So if you can't establish this underhook, you're not going to be able to move into the other positions that we're going to cover. All right, so we're going to cover kind of your standard backside 50-50 entry from the K guard. So we didn't cover this previously, we briefly touched on it, but this I feel is kind of the main attack that you're going to be doing right here, and kind of where all your partner's reactions come off of. And we're going to deal with some of the core problems and issues that we're going to encounter in this position. So we're going to get into our underhook De La Riva position. However, we invert our knee inside, and ultimately I'm going to be getting up on my left shoulder and throwing this outside leg around the back of his leg. And my goal here is to put pressure on the back of his knee to break his knee down to the mat. And that's what's going to allow me to get into this position. So there's a few ways I can do that, but Ultimately, I invert the knee inside. I take some type of grip on his leg. So we went over wrist to wrist or palm to palm. We went over grabbing our foot. I like a lot of times locking a figure four where I grab my bicep and then my other hand grabs like low by his ankle, just like this. And now I'm going to get all the way up on my left shoulder and I throw this leg to the back of his far hip, just like this. So this is one variation, and this allows me to put pressure on the back of his knee. Then my left hook dips off, and I lock my legs, capturing his knee line. So when I'm capturing my partner's knee line here, the more extended my bottom leg is, the easier time I'm going to have capturing the knee line. So if you see when we do this, I'm going to have to make a transition from my hook being on his leg like this to extending this bottom leg to capture my partner's knee line. So I get all the way up on my shoulder, I put this hook in. Now when I straighten my right leg, look how my left leg comes off and I extend that so I can lock around my partner's leg, and we're in this kind of backside 50-50 position here. Ultimately, I'm going to be passing this leg over and looking for my inside heel hook. We're going to cover that in a second, but we're going to focus on first just breaking our partner down. So again, invert the knee inside. So we just threw the leg all the way to his far hip. So I'm going to show that again. Then I'm going to show a few other variations for breaking him down. So I like this figure four. I come all the way up on my shoulder and I kick this all the way through. Now by straightening my right leg, I'm putting pressure on the back of his knee. That allows me to break him down. And then I extend this leg. That allows me to capture the knee line. And I'm going to cross my ankles right here. I'm not a fan of locking a triangle. I feel this makes it very, very easy for him to dip his knee out. He kind of lifts his hips up and slides his knee out. I want to focus on extending him. So I extend my top leg in conjunction with my bottom leg, and I cross my ankles right here. I have this figure four, and I'm extending my back like this. So when Zane goes to pull his leg out or tries to run away, I'm pretty connected with him right here, and it should be pretty difficult. So I invert, I lock my figure four, leg comes around, I extend. Now, once he gets broken down, my bottom leg extends, I capture the knee line, I'm kicking that top leg away to extend his body. I don't want a situation where he's backing his hips up into me, so by extending that top hamstring into the back of his hamstring, I break him down, I'm crossing my ankles, and ultimately I'm going to pass the leg to the other side, and this is my backside 50-50 heel hook, which we're going to cover finishing in 1 second. Second method for breaking the knee down, once we get here, is instead of extending that leg to his far hip, I'm just going to throw my knee on the back of his knee. So we do the same thing. Now, instead of extending all the way through, I just throw this behind the knee, just like this, and the force of that, coupled with me pulling that figure four grip, is going to break him down. Now, once we're here, I extend that bottom leg to capture the knee line. I slide the lock up, so my right hamstring is right in the back of his hamstring, and I'm extending my legs. I'm pinching my legs together, extending, crossing my ankles like a guard. So when Zane goes to pull out right here, and the combination of me extending my back and extending my legs, it's nearly impossible for him to get his knee out. So I'll show a different angle. So here, figure four, throw the leg behind his knee. Now I extend the bottom leg, capture the knee line, I cross my ankles. My upper body is extending. If he goes to try to free his knee or back his hips into me, it's going to be difficult for him, and then we can pass the leg. The last method we're going to do, this is probably my least preferred, but if you feel like you're having trouble getting on your shoulder, this could be an option. So I invert the knee inside. Now when I throw this leg, I'm going to throw it shallow, just like this. Once I throw it shallow, my other toes go on the mat, and it's very, very important I stay shallow. If I go too deep right here with my knee, he can start to stack my hips up and start to work towards my back right here. So I'm almost going, which we're going to cover later, almost like I'm doing a calf cutter. So square up with me. So I invert the knee inside, I go shallow, I lock my hands. In this method, it's going to be hard to lock the figure four. Then I put my toes on the mat and I do like a reverse shrimp to pull my hips under his body. Once his knee is broken down, then I shoot both legs deep. My ankles are crossed, and we're back in the same position right here, extending my legs, extending my body. So Once we get to that position, that kind of backside 50-50, we're going to pass the leg to the other side to feed the heel. So I'm going to cover the finishes. And then the main issue we're going to run into is against someone that's experienced is as soon as I break him down, he is going to backstep. And that's going to be kind of the core issue with this position. And eventually we'll cover how to deal with that. But you're almost never going to catch an experienced opponent straight up with the heel hook right here. So whichever method I use, I break him down right here. Now, when I pass the leg to the other side, I'm catching the heel. I'm focusing on keeping his foot flexed into my ribs. I don't want to get his toes very, very shallow. I'm using my elbow to flex his foot, so his foot is going to be in dorsiflexion, and then I catch under the heel. When I lock my hands, I'm opting to go wrist to wrist, because I want my second hand right in line with Zane's heel like this. Now my legs extend away. Now when I finish, I'm thinking about, if you guys see, I'm on my side, my left shoulder is more to the left than my right shoulder. When I go into finish, I'm extending my legs. I'm going to pull my left shoulder back and bring my right shoulder forward. It's almost like I'm going belly down. So I'm not just turning belly down like this. The leg extension is occurring. My left elbow pulls back as my right shoulder goes forward. And if you see, my spine is going to extend. And that's my finish right here. Once I apply this tension, if Zane goes to try to backstep, he's going to potentially hurt himself right here. So there is a backstep that we will deal with, but the backstep is going to occur before I get the heel. So once I have the heel, I can finish this. But in this particular variation, with this underhook de la Hiva, the way we're getting to the position right now, he always has a chance to backstep. And this is the main issue that we're going to run into. So I hit my backside 50-50. There has to be a period where I pass the leg to the other side, right? This is the main issue. So as I go to do this, Zane backsteps. Now I'm on my left hip trying to finish this heel hook. It can be tough to get the heel. He can lock his legs. He can grab my hands. This becomes very, very, very difficult to finish against an experienced opponent. So come back over. So during the transition of me being here, I have to pass the leg over and feed the heel. I'm never going to be able to do this faster than he can backstep. So what experienced people will do is as soon as they feel that their knee line is going to be caught and they're going to end up in this position, he will backstep immediately. And if I just stay where I am, I'm not ending up in a good position, and he might even be in a better position than me in terms of attacking the legs. So dealing with that backstep is going to be a core issue of this position and knowing what to do from there. So we went over breaking the knee down, 3 ways we can do it. Extend the far leg, extend the outside leg to the far hip. To break him down, we can go knee to knee to break him down, or we can do the reverse shrimping method to break him down. Once we break him down, maintaining the knee line by straightening our legs and keeping our lock together, keeping our ankles crossed together like a guard. If we do get the heel, the proper way to finish, but the vast majority of the time against an experienced opponent, they're going to backstep before we ever catch the heel here. So when I'm training with someone who's pretty good, I'm not expecting to heel hook them here. I'm expecting that backstep, and then we have our follow-ups from there. So when our partner backsteps, the first thing we're going to do, and this takes having good awareness and just being in this position multiple times and expecting this reaction, because this is the reaction I'm going to expect from my partner. And if he doesn't react the right way, I'm still in a good position to finish. So we hit our backside 50-50 entry. When I feel him starting to backstep, if he can kick his leg, so start the backstep, and end up in a position where my knee, my right knee, is now inside of his legs, this is no good for me. So once we get here, I still have my figure 4. Just rotate this way. Yep. I still have my figure 4 on the leg. Even if I had a palm-to-palm grip initially, I'm going to grab his heel just like this. And I'm pushing up in this direction and grabbing my own bicep and straightening my back to elongate his leg. This is going to, 1, makes it easier to maintain the knee line, and 2, it's going to make it easier for me to follow him. So when he backsteps, I just shorten this leg. So I have my legs pretty deep, right? So when Zane goes to backstep, go to backstep Zane, I pull this leg back. I end up with my right foot on his belly, and my knee is now to the mat like this. So I went from Versus if I end up on my left hip, I'm not in a really good position to when I'm here, I have the advantageous leg position. So my knee is on the mat, my right foot is on his belly, and my left knee is connected to my heel, just like this. So we're in, some people call this 80-20. We're in a good leg position right here. So now we're in a position where we can follow him and start to win these exchanges, just like this. So we're not going to get too much into what we're doing from 50-50 because that's not what this instructional is about. It's about the K-guard. But when we do hit this backside 50-50 attack, and he starts to backstep, or backstep right away, I'm dipping my knee inside and just turning on my other hip. So my leg doesn't have to move that much. I'm just pulling my knee to my chest so I get the foot on the belly, and my knee comes to my heel here, just like this. Now we're in a really good position. I can start to sit up. My knees are to the inside, so if he goes to attack my legs, because my foot's on the belly, he can't. If he goes to hide his foot, he can, but we can start to go into turns to follow him. If he over-rotates, I can start to attack his back right here. There's a bunch of really good sequences we can look to hit. So again, we're not going to get too much into that. You know, that's not what this instructional is about, but that is the way we want to operate, by dipping that knee to the inside, putting us in a good position. So, one more time. I hit my backside 50-50. He goes to backstep. I dip that knee all the way to the inside, just like this. Kick back over. So I hit my backside 50-50 entry from K-guard. I'm extending with my hands, so I'm grabbing this figure four. I'm pulling my arms up. When he goes to backstep right here, dip the knee inside. We're in a good position right here. So one just way I could follow him in this position is I'm going to hold his heel. So I switch from here to here, and I base up to my elbow like this. So when I base up, I'm pulling his toes up to the sky. So what he's going to be doing is either trying to lock his legs or hide his foot. So with my foot on the belly, it makes it very hard for him to lock his legs. We'd have to clear that. So when he goes to hide his foot right here, I'm kind of applying this knee bar pressure and lifting my hips off the mat on my elbow. Once I feel like I have some tension, I'm going to switch from holding the heel to pushing the foot. So here, and I push, and I roll over, and I catch the heel on the roll. Now I lock my leg in the same way as before. Remember, when we're finishing, I'm bringing my right shoulder more to the left than my left shoulder. My shoulders go back. So if I didn't have the heel, I'm doing this motion. So I am turning belly down, but I'm not just turning belly down. It's a spine extension as I turn. Now if he goes to back step, there's a lot of tension in his leg. We can finish. Just one more time for this sequence. So I put Zane in backside 50-50. He starts to backstep, I extend right here. Put this tension right on the heel. I come up, roll all the way through, and now we go into our finish. So dealing with the backstep, getting that inside knee position is one of the best options, I feel. If you guys do this, you're putting yourself in a good position to do multiple things, whether it's attack his legs, come on top, keep yourself safe, and then you can progress once you get that knee to the inside. All right, so we're going to cover an option from backside 50-50 to kind of slow his backstep down, called double 50-50. So I will preface this section by saying, I did want to touch on this position by saying I don't think this position is going to stop his backstep or significantly slow him down enough where we can catch the heel, but I think it does have some application. So we're going to cover that right now. Just to explain generally what the position is, it's the idea that when I go to my backside 50-50, I break Zane down right here. I'm going to be taking, let's just rotate. I'm going to be taking, in this case, my left leg. I'm going to be taking it out, and I'm going to be back heeling over his leg like this. If I can get knee deep over his leg, now when he goes to backstep, it's not that easy for him. I can feed the leg to the other side freely, and I have a good chance to grab the heel. This is true. If I can get knee deep in this position, it's pretty difficult for him to backstep. But, let me just get my leg out. When we're setting this up from a standing position, it's really quite difficult to get to that knee deep position. So when I break Zane down, a lot of times this back leg, just rotate this way. This back leg, his left leg is going to be up. So even if I can free this leg and I try to effectively back heel, keep your leg strong. Right here, it's very, very hard for me to effectively break that knee down. So now when he goes to back step, he's kind of free to still back step effectively right here. So, come back. So not to say this position can't work, but for it to work effectively, his knee would have to be on the mat, and I would have to get knee deep on the back of his knee. Now, when he goes to back step, it's really much more difficult. I can start to go into my finish. So the application of using it from here is that I don't feel it's super effective. You do see it a lot, or see it talked about a lot. I just wanted to touch on it, but so I break him down, I take this leg out. If I can't get knee deep, I just have my ankle here. Even if, so go to back step, Zane. Even if my leg stays to the inside, like it is right here, I'm not effectively stopping the turn. So this could be a way to get to this crisscross ashi or this X-legs position. Because I had that leg behind his hamstring, we did end up here. If this is a position you like to work from, like it could be a way to get here, but we still have the issue of trying to expose our partner's heel. This position, again, is going to work in a situation where I can get knee deep behind his knee, like this. Now my left knee is covering the back of his left knee. When he goes to start to turn, it's going to be significantly more difficult for him to turn, and the chances of me catching the heel go up dramatically. But applying it generally from this just standard K-guard backside 50-50 position, I feel is pretty difficult to get the right angle. Now when he goes to back step, I'm only ankle deep, so even if my leg did stay to the inside, I'm not effectively stopping his turn, and we still end up in the same problem of trying to follow the heel. The way we could make it work is getting this knee all the way deep. Now when he goes to turn, it's much more difficult for him. I can catch the heel more effectively. All right, so I just wanted to touch on that position briefly, explain its application in that spot. Not that it can't work, but I don't feel like it's going to necessarily prevent the back step like a lot of people describe it to. All right, so we're going to deal with a back attack now off of my partner's back step. So this is a crab ride entry, and this works pretty well because I'm anticipating his movement. I know that if he's experienced, he's going to be initiating this back step, and it makes it pretty easy to time this and get my legs in the right position. So what I'm going to be doing is we're going to do the same backside position. I break my partner down. Now, instead of even looking to follow his heel right here, my hand is going to be coming up. I'm going to be placing it right next to his hip, like this. Now, as Zane backsteps, I'm still going to be doing the same motion with my top leg. I'm still pulling my knee to my chest. So as Zane backsteps right here, I get on my hip, I pull my knee to my chest, and I pass this leg to the inside, just like this. So I'm going from my legs in this position to passing this leg inside. So let's just do it again. And we're going to end up in like a crab X position. This arm comes up, I'm cupping his quad. Now as Zane backsteps right here, I'm moving with him, and I go to this crab back. So I have my left hook in, my right hook in. I'm going to pull his hips right on top of my hips, just like this. And if you see, my right arm is really deep right here. So there's a bunch of ways we can progress right here. We're not going to focus too much on crab ride. Really simple option is, if you see, I have my crab X. I'm trying to get his hips right on top of my stomach. I'm just going to lift with my left hook. I come up on my shoulder, and my right hook goes to the inside. I put this twister hook in right here. Now I can extend the twister hook. Hand comes up to the shoulder. My right hand on the hip becomes my underhook. I lock a seatbelt, and now we're taking our partners back. So, again, hit this backside 50-50. I feel him backstepping. Hand comes to the hip. I roll underneath. I go to this crab X position. I pull his hips into me. Now, I lift with my left leg, and I put my twister hook in. That allows me to extend, come to the shoulder. My right hand around his waist became my underhook, and we're climbing the back. Do one more angle. This side. So I throw around. Now, As Zane backsteps, I have his hip right here. I invert my knee to the inside. I have this crab X. I pull his hips into me. That allows me to put this twister hook in. So I'm going from, I have the crab X, I'm lifting with that left leg and then weaving my right leg to the inside. This works because his hips are on top of my hips. If his hips were on the mat, I would not be able to do this. So I have to start by pulling his hips into me, and now I can weave that in place, grab the shoulder. We are in our back take. All right, so we're gonna deal with a common problem that'll happen when we start to go into the K guard. So this is a back step, but it's not like a back step like we just showed. When I start to put pressure on the back of his knee to break him down to the mat, a lot of times he'll take small incremental back steps and angle his body in such a way that I can't effectively put pressure on the back of the knee. So we're gonna deal with what to do when he does that. So a lot of times when we go to this K guard, Zane will start to angle his body off in this direction. So like, you see how he's no longer really facing me? So now when I go into this K guard position, I hook his far leg, he'll take small back steps with that left leg. That's too much, go back on. Yeah, go back a little bit. So if he stays here, I can start to put pressure. But if he takes small steps with that leg, I can't really put pressure on the back of his knee. We kind of just end up right here. When this happens, I'm just gonna grab his second leg. So when I grab, I'm not underhooking. It's kind of easy for him to step out. I'm wrapping wrist deep around his shin, and I'm squaring myself up, just like this. And once we get here, I'm just wrapping my wrist a little bit deeper so my fingers go behind his knee and my elbow pulls inside. It's important I'm not doing this because now there's space between my armpit and Zane can start to step his foot out. Yeah, loop his toes out. So I'm doing, go back for a second. I'm doing this. So go to step out right here. It's difficult because he can't actually work his toes out. Now, from this position, it's almost like a X guard variation where I have like both of his legs controlled, but instead of being an X guard, I just gotta have my foot right on his belly, right here. So we're gonna go into an X guard. I dip my right leg inside, so my right foot's on the belly. I dip my right leg inside, and I just throw my hips up. I'm gonna lock a triangle on the inside. This is gonna be very easy to do because I have both legs controlled. So I kind of control both legs. I shoot my hips up, and I lock a triangle and knock him down. Once we're here, I let go of the scoop. My arm comes to the outside. Now I slide down to his ankle, come up to his knee. I kick my leg through, and I shelf his leg for a Z-lock right here. So when I'm finishing this, we're not gonna get too much into this, but just basic finishing mechanics is I wanna come up so I'm elbow deep around his leg. So if you see my right leg is just sitting here. The reason for that is if I go foot to foot too early, I'm gonna lose a lot of tension on his leg. So I sit up, I go elbow deep, and I grab my own shin. Now that I have this, I lean to my left hip, and I go foot to foot. And I'm leaning back on the other side. So now I have both of his legs stuck, and I'm creating this 90-degree bend on his leg. So when finishing this, I have really inflexible shoulders. Ideally, I wanna get this grip on his foot. This C grip, right on kind of like the big toe knuckle of his foot, and push his foot in line with my quad. But personally, I really can't do that because of my shoulders. So instead, I'm gonna take a scoop. I take a scoop so my elbow is right by his heel, and I push his leg in line with my quad, and that's my Z-lock. If I could get that grip on the toe, which I really can't get, I could do that instead. So again, this all stems from him taking those small back steps to relieve the pressure from my ability to break his knee down. So when I start to put this pressure, he takes these small back steps. So even go back a little bit. So it doesn't have to be super dramatic. Just step forward a little bit. Like right here, if I go to put pressure on his knee, it's tough. Now I use that hook to bring myself through, and I grab, just like this. Now I switch to X guard, cupping the back of his knee and pulling my elbow in. My hips come up, and I lock that triangle here, which is pretty easy. Now, elbow comes to the outside, 2-on-1 on the leg. We sit up, and I go elbow deep, grabbing my own shin, straightening my right leg so that way I can actually sit up. We lean to one hip, foot to foot, lean to the other hip, creating that 90-degree bend. Now, underhook, so I'm right on my partner's heel. If I had the flexibility, I could grab the toes, but if not, this will be good. and you get your finish. So dealing with our partner's back step to relieve the pressure of the K guard. All right, so we're going to cover an outside ashi entry from K guard. I would probably rank this as maybe lowest in terms of priority, in terms of what you would go for. This is, again, based on a reaction from him that we're going to do versus when he takes small back steps like we just covered. This is going to be when he turns his knee into us and squares up with us, and it becomes hard to get the angle to actually throw the leg over behind the knee. So there's a specific protocol we want to take when doing this because there is a risk of him taking my back. So there's something very specific we're going to do when we do this movement. But, like many people think about outside ashi, personally, I like the position a lot, but if you're not very strong in this position, I'm going to show an immediate transition we could take to take us back into a K guard option, just so we're not sitting in outside ashi if it's not a position that's comfortable for you. So this particular movement we're going to do when our partner's knee is very turned outwards. So I can still maybe get my K, but if his knee is very, very out, it's going to be hard for me to, you can come into me a little bit, it's going to be hard for me to like actually throw the backside because I need to get all the way around behind his knee, right? So when this happens, I'm just going to throw my leg to the outside and I kind of have my foot, my K foot stepping on my calf, just like this. So now I'm going to make a transition to outside ashi. What I don't want to do is just lock my legs like this. So I'm locking an outside ashi while I still have an underhook or a scoop on his leg. This is asking to get my back taken. If he starts to lift my hips up, he's going to potentially stack me on my shoulders, and I'm going to end up in a back take scenario. So what we're going to do is I start to invert my knee inside. I feel like his knee is turned out. I throw my leg to the outside. Right here with this hook, I'm safe from the back take. If he goes to lift me up on my shoulders, this hook is going to stop him from aligning himself in the position to take my back because he really needs a one in, one out scenario where his leg is between my legs. When I keep this hook in, that's safe. What I'm going to do is like switch from this lock to cupping the side of his knee and grabbing an Achilles grip like this. So I go from an underhook to an overwrap. And I just lace my knuckles inside his shin. Now I'm free to lock an outside ashi. When I have an Achilles grip, if he tries to take my back right here, as long as I maintain this, just lift my hips up and go for the like wedge back take, he's just not going to be able to because I'm attached to him. Even if he throws his knee underneath and starts to wedge, you're just going to pull me on top of him because I have this Achilles grip. So if you guys are in like a straight leg entanglement, like a standard ashi, outside ashi, maintaining your Achilles grip is going to save you from that back take. So I'm making sure I switch to the Achilles grip prior to untangling my legs from that position. So this hook stays where it is. Leg comes to the outside. 1, 2. Now I'm safe to go in outside ashi. Just rotate a little bit. So again, if you don't like this position, you're not good here. Like this could seem like a detrimental position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give him a little off balance by turning the knees out, and then I'm going to dip this knee to the inside, just like this. So I go from the lock and I dip my left knee inside. And if you see my right foot, my right ankle is heavy on Zane's hip, just like this. And my leg is kind of just here. He could easily throw it off. So I'm putting weight onto my right foot. So when he goes to clear that foot, it's not that easy. I'm going to give a little hip up, and then I pull my knees to my chest and I underhook his leg right here. So now I have both legs controlled, and I'm going to go to X guard on the far side. And that gives me a K guard entry right here. Anytime we're in X guard with an underhook on the leg, so underhook meaning this scoop versus an Achilles or an overwrap, anytime I'm in K guard with an underhook on the leg, I could potentially go to K guard by leaning on my opposite hip and throwing this backside 50-50. Because I have the scoop, we're still dealing with the issue of him potentially backstepping. So when he does backstep, I'm ready to get that knee to the inside, and then we have our follow-ups. But initially, we were in the K guard position trying to potentially get there, and we opted to go outside ashi because of his reaction. We ended up in K guard on the other side. So he starts to turn that knee out. I'm inverting, but I can't go around the corner, so I just throw this to the outside. I get my Achilles grip. Now we're in outside ashi. I give him a little off balance. Knee comes to the inside, hip up, pull in to get this leg, scoop, switch the K guard, switch the X guard on the other side. I off balance him. Once I get the hands to the ground, I swim to my other hip. I kick that leg through, and now we're backside. Let me just switch to X guard right here. So, just to show this transition, I off balance him, get on my other hip. This leg goes all the way through, my ankles are crossed, and now we're in our backside 50-50. If he backsteps, dip my knee to the inside, and we're in the same position that we covered. All right, so using that outside ashi entry to create a K-guard opportunity on the other side. All right, so this next variation we're going to go over is when we can't actually get our leg on the inside to even initiate the K-guard. And the more pressure the person puts into us to make that happen, the easier this move actually becomes. So this is very specific to when I'm trying to do my K-guard and Zane is starting to drive this knee into me to the point where I can't really like invert the knee inside like this. So what I'm going to do is this second foot can do a few things. I can put a hook inside of his knee, or I can just post on his thigh like this. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be trying to get the back of my knee over his knee, and I'm going to be locking my hands around his leg, almost like I'm going to do a K-guard. But the intention here is to actually turn his knee to the inside. So it's easier the more pressure he puts in. If he keeps his weight back, it actually can be a little bit harder for me to do this. So he's going to drive into me. I'm going to back heel with my left leg. I push my toes off his quad and I lock my hands. And I use this to redirect him and turn his knee down to the mat, just like this. And this kind of like looks a little fancy, but it's really pretty easy to do, especially when he's pressuring in. So come back again. So I'm here. I'm back heeling. He starts to drive into me. I turn my knee into his knee and I lock my hands and I'm trying to pull down by his ankle. The lower I am on his ankle, the more leverage I'm going to have. And I break his knee down to the mat. And I kind of just place my shin here, almost like a knee shield kind of. So my goal here is to come up and take his back. So what I don't want is to take this away and let him sit back into me. So initially I'm going to have that knee in. I'm maintaining this underhook on his leg. I'm going to kind of kick away. And as I do, I shorten my left hand. So I'm going to grab like this so I can sit up and then grab his hip right here. And I'm trying to kind of get my knuckles inside of his like a quad almost. So I'm like hooking my knuckles inside of his leg. And then my knee, my right knee is right in his belly like this. So I'm kind of propping his hips up with my right knee. So my main option here is to take his back. So this left leg, if this gets too deep, he might be able to backstep and start to attack this leg right here. So once we sit up, I'm just going to shorten this so my knee comes out. Now I'm going to pull him into me just like this and scoot out to break him down. Now I can put my cross body right hook in. I switch to a left side underhook, and now we're taking our partners back right here. Show a different angle. So we're here. I feel him driving into me. I'm pushing, and when I do this, I'm trying not to come up on my shoulders too much. I'm trying to sag my hips heavy, and I use this and I break him down. Initially, a lot of times I'll put this foot behind his knee, so that way he can't backstep that leg like I described. Now I shorten this grip as I sit up. Initially, this knee is here keeping him away. I come here, sit him up. Now I'm going to pull my left leg out to shorten this. My knee is propping his hips up. I sit back, I pull him into me, I switch, and now I'm in my back take. We can also, when we do this, we can do a little bit of like an elevation as well. So I break Zane down, I sit up. A lot of times I can hook his leg with my right leg. I use this to lift him, so it's almost like a berimbolo variation. Scoop my hips out, and now I take it back. So I'll show that one more time. So he's driving into me. If I want to keep this hook in, that's good as well. I sit up, I hook my knuckles, now I hook this knee and I lift him, just like this. Now I can sit him out, switch to my seatbelt, and we're taking our partners back. All right, so this next option, we're gonna break his knee down in the same way we did before. And if he kind of beats me to the punch and starts to sit back into me, we're gonna go over what we can do. So we hit our knee breakdown, same way. Now I'm gonna go to sit up, but Zane is gonna start to sit back into me at the same time. So we kind of end up in this, like, we both have this reverse tight waist type position right here. So what I'm gonna do is, I can't really lift him the same way we did before. I'm gonna take my hand out, I'm gonna put it on the mat and base up like this. So as he goes to sit into me, I'm gonna drive my knees down to the mat just like this and hip into him right here. Just keep your base a little bit. Yeah, hip into him right here. Now, as he posts, I put this arm in, so I get this like cross body ride position, come around the corner, and then take the back right here. So I'm almost doing like kind of an up and over sweep motion to knock him down. So here I sit up, he's starting to come into me. So I come up to my hand, I try to get my hips nice and high, I knock him down like this. Now this hand comes inside and I sit around the corner. So my right hook is in and I have this cross underhook with my left hand. Now, I'm sorry, cross underhook with my right hand. Now I just pummel my left arm inside and we switch. Now we're taking our partners back. All right, so this is a pretty common reaction. He goes to sit into his own like reverse underhook, and I use like a hip bump motion to take him down, get him to either fall over, in which case I'll end up on top, or if he posts his hand, we get that cross underhook and we take it back. All right, so we're gonna cover using the K guard to get into the matrix position, or like people call it calf cutter matrix, and start to attack our partner's back. This is definitely a little bit less applicable in no-gi. In the gi, it's very, very, very effective. But in no-gi, I think it can be a pretty effective position as well. Especially maybe you don't want to get into a leg entanglement with your partner. Like we discussed, we go to backside 50-50. A lot of times they backstep or still kind of in a leg entanglement. So this could be a good way to attack the back. So when we set this up, I'm just want to cover a safe way we can position our legs. We're going to turn this way a little bit. So when we go to do this, ultimately what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be throwing my right foot right behind his knee. We covered something like this in the knee breakdown section, where I put my toes on the mat and I use this to break him down right here. But instead, I'm going to be attacking his back. So I invert my knee inside. I'm going to throw my leg right behind, just like this. And then my other leg is going to go to his far hip. And what I'm trying to get is just back up for a second. So I have that hook behind the knee. I'm hooking the far leg. I'm trying to reinforce my like calf cutter hook inside my own knee. So my heel kind of sits inside my own knee. The reason for this is if I am not doing that or not reinforcing my leg, because I'm flaring my leg externally right here. If Zane straightens his leg back into me, I can potentially hurt my knee here without question. So if I get my heel, see how my heel is inside my own knee, and then my toes are curled around his quad. So I'm not letting my toes curl this way. I'm curling them inside. When he goes to straighten his leg down, I'm really reinforcing the position of my knee. And as soon as I get here, I'm reaching up like inside my own shin and grabbing his quad. And now the key with doing this is I initially have this scoop on the leg, is I have to release all pressure from the scoop. Because if I hold the scoop too tight, I'm not going to be able to get to the calf cutter. This is the opposite of like the backside 50-50. Backside 50-50, you want to keep his knee line. With this, I actually want his knee to come out when I do this. So I have to loosen up all the tension that I have on this scoop once I throw. So I'm throwing here right behind like this. My knee's inside, I grab and I loosen my right arm up entirely. Now look, I'm grabbing tight with my right hand. I extend away with that right leg and my left leg comes to the outside. I come behind him. Now I'm coming up, I'm locking my hands around his back. So I have this same kind of X hook type position right here. I can start to stretch, I'm gonna stretch you out, just be careful. I can start to stretch him out, take his back right here. Or if he rolls, we're back in a crab ride type position. So I invert that knee inside, I throw, I get that heel right inside. I'm trying to curl my toes inside of his leg. So we come here, I extend, and see how my left leg comes to the outside. Now I can start to lock my hands around his hips, stretch him out, and take the back. Sometimes what will happen, so if you notice, when I'm doing this, my leg is coming out and around his leg in order to free my left leg. So we're here. Notice when I extend, my left leg comes out and around. Just come back for a second. Just go really slow with that. So here, see how my left leg comes out and around behind his leg? A lot of times, I may break his knee down before I get that leg out. If this happens like this, where this leg ends up inside, all I'm doing is I'm leaning onto my other hip and I stretch. That's gonna allow me to free my leg right here. So I'm here, we're gonna have this position. This leg may be in danger, so I lean on the other hip and stretch, and now I can start to stretch him out and then take the back. So when we do this, a lot of times, he's gonna look to put his back to the mat. When we do this right here, and then I'm gonna follow him. He puts his back to the mat, we're in that same cramp ride position we covered earlier, and we can start to climb our partner's back. So expect the person to do that, especially if they don't want to get their back taken, but in a situation where they want to stay on top, you know, they may not put their back on the mat. It becomes a lot easier to break them down and start to take it back. All right, so we're going to cover a leg locking option from the matrix position. This is particularly available when our partner back steps. We're not back steps, puts their back on the mat to defend the back take. And I'm going to kind of let him do it, and then the leg that he's kind of kicking over with, I'm going to attack that leg. So when we're in this position, invert the knee inside, we throw. So in the event I start to break him down right here, and he's going to start to kick this leg over to put his back on the mat. So when he does this, instead of putting my back on the mat to follow him, back up for a second, my hand is already reaching for his far hip. So when he goes to start to back step, I'm just going to cup his leg and I'm going to allow it to come into my armpit. And I use this hook just to free that calf cutter position. Now, I come all the way up on my shoulder. As I do, I'm throwing my left leg through and behind to this backside 50-50. But now when I do this, because I have the overwrap, I can catch the heel right on the entry. We end up in a good finish right here. So I should come this way. So here, I feel him starting the back step. So I know this is coming, so I just cup his leg just like this. Now I have more of an overwrap instead of an underhook. So that's going to allow me, when I free this leg, I go down to my shoulder, I kick this leg over, and I throw my leg to his far hip. Now my elbow comes back, and I have the heel immediately. I just land right on the side of my elbow. I have my legs crossed right in front of his hip. So when he goes to come in to fight my hands, I'm in a really good finishing position. All right, so this is a nice option when our partner goes to kick that leg back. I'm initially in that matrix on the leg I was initially going for. When he steps back, I catch the leg in my armpit, and we can throw backside 50-50.